Hello everyone. Today we have, actually we had it yesterday and some of the parts wasn't available right away, so we kept it overnight. This is going to get four-wheel brakes, pads, rotors, regular brake job. On top it's getting brake calipers as well. Because brakes were done not long ago and twice actually, someplace else, and the driver is getting a massive vibration on the steering wheel, on the brake pedal as well. So we determined that brake calipers are not releasing all the way, and they are hanging up, in other words, and so causing brakes to overheat, and brake rotors are going warped and causing vibration. And this is a 2015 Chevy Equinox. It's 2.4 engine, automatic transmission, of course. It's all-wheel drive model. So we're gonna get to it now. Okay. Lug nuts are not 21. Probably 1, 2. It's gonna be loud. As it can be seen, they're not that old, and we have some heat spots. These actually causes these are the remnants of the heavy braking or overheating. good. All right, we're gonna go here. This video is for entertainment purposes only. There is not much to diagnose. It's just a regular brake job. We're gonna replace the pads, rotors, and the calipers because they're old and worn out and they're not working as good. So I'm gonna save the bleeder caps because the new calipers, they don't come with them anymore. They used to, but they don't send them anymore. So I'm gonna keep the old ones and we're gonna put them back onto the new ones so they don't get oxidized or corroded. What happens, water gets in, moisture gets in, it corrodes the inside and you can't get it loose anymore, and sometimes they break off and you would have to replace the caliper. If the caliper is in good shape, that would be a waste actually. So I'm gonna take it off. We're gonna take the caliper off now. And I believe this is 14 millimeter up here. This is 14, and we're gonna take these out first. This time, since I'm going to replace the calipers, I am not going to push the caliper pistons back in because I don't want that old contaminated fluid going back up into the system. We're gonna leave it where it is, and so that way when we install the new caliper, and we're gonna fill the reservoir from the top, and a new fluid will come in, and we're gonna bleed and flush the system out. So that way everything comes out much better. This is a 11 millimeter banjo bolt. And this, I'm gonna crack it loose first and snug it back on so it doesn't drip. And it has two copper washers. They're called crush washers. So what they do, they seal the end of the brake hose onto the caliper. And I'm gonna pinch the hose down a little bit. Everybody has a different opinion about pinching the hose. They even make tools for these things, but I don't use the tool. I use my old worn out vice grip. You just need to pinch it down enough, not a lot, then you can actually cause damage to the hose itself internally. So if you squeeze it down just enough to stop the dripping, that'll be enough. So I'm gonna remove the calipers. I'm gonna remove the caliper. You can use air tools, power tools, whatever, but not really necessary. It's a basic brake job, and a lot of guys actually do that at home in their backyard. So, okay, these are the copper washers I was talking about right here. And so we're not going to reuse them because they're crush washers. When you crush them, they're done. I mean, in an emergency, you may be able to use it, but in the perfect world, we never use them because of liability concerns, and we don't want brake fluid to leak and get the drivers in trouble. So we always use the new ones. Just gonna make sure surface of the hose is clean, no debris. You can use an old rag. Just make sure don't use any kind of fluid other than brake fluid, because brake fluid doesn't like that. It will be contaminated. So I'm just gonna tuck it away while I'm working on these things. As you can see, the brakes were done. pads are almost new. Slides are moving but are very hard. So $18mm. Need a gun. You need a gun to remove these 18mm bolts so we can get the bracket off. There is a retainer screw here, and it's a Torx bit, Torx T30. So we're gonna remove that in order for us to remove the rotor. I'm gonna see if it's really tight. If it comes out easy, I don't need to do anything special. This is not that crazy, so it's coming out. When you're putting this Torx screw back in, it doesn't really need to be really tight, because all it does, it holds the rotor or brake disc on so it doesn't fall out during the assembly. And there's a little bit of rust on it. I'm gonna buff it off on the wire brush. Old trusty never sees. So we're gonna reuse that. I'm gonna use my guaranteed tool, and this wasn't really actually stuck, came right out, but still there's a lot of rust. Actually there are a lot of rust on the hub itself, so we're gonna have to clean these areas pretty good so the new disc will go on flush. good.
Hey, how are you, buddy? You just going?
Not right now, but you're gonna drop the rope.
No.
You always have to drop the rope.
Oh,
Because there's cars outside.
right, right.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, cool, thank you.
We use this brand. They're fully polymer coated, and they're not perfect. They're not top of the line. They're not bottom of the line either. Up around here, they last about, on average driving, they last about 3 years or so. They're pretty good. And even though they're coated, I'm still gonna apply just a little bit anti-seize around here to help. So you always try to make everything as good as possible. Now we're gonna install our Torx screw back in so it doesn't fall off, the rotor doesn't fall off when I let go. On this car, because the studs are so long, the rotor probably wouldn't fall off while I'm working on it, but we're gonna do it the way it's supposed to be. Torque it down. Doesn't have to be really tight. And we're good. Now I'm gonna go get the caliper for this side. Again, we use these calipers. They're completely coated, so they would not rust. They would last much longer. I'm gonna hang them on. Actually, I'm not gonna hang them on. I am gonna remove the caliper bracket so I can prepare it. we're gonna use the slide banjo bolt. Banjo bolt has it's hollow actually. It lets the fluid go in here, come out of here, so it can go into the caliper. And we have a new hardware, which includes the copper washers, new ones. One goes before the hose, and the other one goes behind the hose, like so. Now I'm gonna hand start. Just make sure threads are good, surface is clean, otherwise they will leak, because brakes will work under high pressure. I'm gonna snug this banjo bolt so I can let go the vice grip. Because I don't like to leave it on too long. The hex size is different. The original one was 11 millimeter, and replacement one is 10. So I had to run for a wrench. Okay, now, even though these are all coated, I like to apply some anti-seize around here. That prevents rusting. So it's not really necessary, but if I do it this way, they last longer, because the rust builds up here, and there is a anti-rattle clip goes onto it. Between the pad, brake pad contact surface, contact point, and this area. So if the rust is built up there and it can't go anywhere, that actually squeezes the pad in. Even though some cases caliper itself may be working. So same thing. Our power stop ceramic brake pads, they last very long time. They're very quiet, and they don't make that black dust, because they are ceramic. Dust that they make you can't see because it's white. So see, this is how the anti-rattle clips goes on. and never sees underneath. So we're gonna apply some never sees to the part of the brake pads that go here, so they slide back and forth easy, and they don't promote rust. Now, like so. Goes here. One goes here. Slides are nice and free.
You can make that. You can put it right in the foot. Just walk into the office and I'm gonna use it, right? Okay.
Sorry about that. Somebody walked in and they had a delivery, so I had to help them out. So these two bolts are tight. pads are lubricated, brackets are lubricated, slides are working fine. Now we're gonna install the caliper back into the back onto the bracket. Actually, this is the hydraulic part of the brake caliper component. This is the bracket. So let me clarify that again. This portion bolted onto the bracket is the hydraulic part of the brake, and the other is bracket. Sometimes some companies, especially dealers, when you ask for a caliper, they only sell you or offer this part only. You would have to pay extra or additional for the bracket. In some cases, the bracket is actually much more money than the caliper itself. Because the slide pin has a hex head, and when I attempt to turn it, tighten it down, it spins, it will spin. So I would have to hold it down with a 17mm wrench, and these are 14mm, and so we can torque it down so it doesn't come loose or it doesn't make noise. They don't need to be really tight. Probably 10-20 foot-pound, even less. So once everything installed, nice and free, everything is moving back and forth where it's supposed to be. And these are, since they have a crush washers, when you're tightening it down, once the washer is crushed, you'll feel that it's crushed. And once it's crushed, don't go back. Yeah, there you go, it crushed a little bit more. Of course, once we fill the system with the brake fluid and bleed process, we will wash the area. We will wash the area dry and check for leaks. We would never let anyone go without doing a pressure leak test, because obviously brakes are the most important part of the car. So this is the right front wheel completed, and I'm gonna move on to the other side. I loosened up this bleeder while I'm working on the other side. The brake fluid will actually fill the caliper chamber, as we see. So that's going to help me bleed the system easier. So this is not done. No, this way I know that the chamber is filled, almost filled with brake fluid. So I'm going to snug it back down. Not a lot, just to snug it so it doesn't drip. I'm gonna move on to the other side. So I'm gonna grab my tools so we can go to the other side. some light. We need light for the camera. Again, we're gonna save this brake bleeder cap. As I noticed, the new one didn't have one on it. Okay. We're just gonna loosen up this and snug it back down so we can take it off easily. And on this side, I am gonna loosen up that torque screw before I take everything off, so it will be easier. So this wasn't very tight either. That's very nice. You don't have to break anything, nothing breaks. You don't have to fix anything extra. Torque screw came out nice. Again, right away I'm gonna use a wire brush, wheel brush. A little bit of never cease. Then we're gonna loosen up these caliper bolts. Wow, they were tight. They don't need to be that tight. Whoever did it before, I must have used a gun or something, really powerful gun. And now I'm gonna take the caliper out. And pinch this hose just tiny bit so it won't come loose. So it won't leak. Sorry, it would not come loose. So as I took it out, washer fell off, and one washer is stuck on the banjo. If you're reusing the banjo bolt, you're gonna make sure that you remove the one that's stuck on. If you double washer it, it will leak. we're gonna continue. So I do get interrupted time to time. People come in, they ask for direction, they ask for price, and a bunch of other stuff. So we're gonna use that 18mm socket, the air gun. The color of these rotors have a telltale sign of a discoloration. As you see, like a bluish hue on the friction area, that's indication of overheating. Also, this is brake job on 2015 Chevy Equinox all-wheel drive. I have done the front brakes already. I replaced the rotors, pads, as well as the calipers. I flushed the old fluid out. I bled them. I did that off camera because there is so much going in and out. I didn't want to bore anybody. So fronts are done, complete, and I'm gonna do the rears. There is this torque screw that holds the rotor in place, which I have removed them before I get to it, and I bleeder cap, and the calipers. I'm going to remove this hose, and there is two 14mm bolts that holds the caliper onto the bracket, and there's a 15mm bolt which I'm gonna use a impact tool to get it off because they're kind of big and tight. And one down here, and this is the left side. This is the right side, and I remove that screw again. Same deal, 15mm, 15mm. These are 17mm. If they spin, you would have to hold them so you can get the retaining bolts off. Again, that's 15mm on here, and another 15 here. So let's get to it. This is again not big deal, replacing brake pads, rotors, calipers. I know many guys, they can do this at home, their backyard. This is just entertainment purposes only. It might help someone if they need visual for the parts, components, how, if they don't have any idea, or if they do. So I hope this helps someone or entertains someone. If anyone needs help, question, comments, please let me know, and I'll do my best to get back to you. It's very windy here, and it's stirring up all that dust and possibly whatever is in the air or on the ground, and so keep on sneezing. Just like any other brake job, see the crush washer is stuck on the caliper, which I'm not going to worry about because we're going to replace this. However, the other crush washer is stuck on the end of the hose, which I have to remove this. If I don't, it's going to be double washered and it would possibly leak. So big deal. So don't forget that. Any type of screw, plier, you just have to move it and it'll just pop right out. So it's not really stuck, it just stuck enough that it wouldn't fall out. Clean the surfaces with a clean rag. Make sure surfaces are nice and clean. Space is kind of tight here. Couldn't get the air tool, so I'm gonna use two little muscle. Again, brakes were done not long ago, but they didn't diagnose the problem properly. So brakes are vibrating really bad, especially after driving a while. Brush off these build up, which doesn't look that bad. Fronts were actually very rusty. I'm not gonna bother spraying the parking brake shoes because sometimes when you spray them, you remove the lubricant behind the shoe and the backing plate, and they squeak. And we're gonna leave them alone. They appear to be working properly. And besides, we already made a deal with the customer, so we're gonna leave it where it is. Besides, we don't want to cause a problem because parking brakes are working and the customer didn't complain, and we're gonna leave them alone. We got our new rotor. We're gonna line up this hole here so we can install this torque screw. Again, this doesn't have to be really tight. If you tighten it too much, you may not be able to get it off later on, so just tighten up. Again, we have our nice powder coated calipers. They're not gonna rust as quickly. They will rust eventually, but they're not gonna rust as quickly. So, okay. We have the clips, anti-rattle clips installed, so no noise. it.